What's up, everybody? My name is BMax, aka Brandon. This is the Anime Dojo, episode 19. Tonight we have a couple things we're going to get through. We're going to get through the anime charts like we've been doing. We'll also have a couple news items that came out of the anime world. One that deals with Demon Slayer, and then the other one, we have a couple news. One deals with Demon Slayer. There was another thing that came out. I didn't think Chris this is going to be kind of off the cuff with this. It deals with Shield Hero season 2. So that's going to be something I want to talk about. And then I'm going to also mention this, talking about JJK, because that got something else as well. But I'll mention that at the end of the night, because that's going to be kind of fun. I do have Chris alongside me this evening. Chris, how you doing?
Doing pretty good, bro. How about yourself?
Doing well, can't complain. Let's get into this. So we'll start off with the anime charts. These anime charts were actually pretty interesting, and I have to give it. Dion's not even here. Dion's not here this evening, but he might come in later. Bleach is still at number 1. Murder Mutsumi Tensei jumps back up 4 spots to number 2. Undead Murder Farce jumps 4 spots to 3. My Happy Marriage drops 1 spot to 4. Dark Gathering jumps 3 spots to 5. We got Stray Dogs season 5 drops 2 spots. The Girl That Forgot Her Glasses jumps 2 spots. And we had Weekend Tensei jumps 3 spots. And My Spy Class season 2 jumps 1 spot. And Reign of the 7 Soul Blades drops 5 spots. From this list, Chris, what do you think is the biggest takeaway from this anime chart from this week? So this is from the week of the 18th through the August 25th.
Looking at this list, I cannot say that old school animes are the best. Because you have Bleach at number 1, but you have Rurouni Kenshin at number 8.
Yeah.
I just thought that, somebody had brought that to my attention. Like, he said, oh man, all the old school animes are better than all these new ones. I'm like, these charts say differently, bruh.
Very differently. These charts say very differently. There's not one thing or another that is in there overall. I will say it's interesting that Tensei moved back up to 2. Undead Murder Farce went to 3, and then My Happy Marriage dropped 1 spot. I do think at the end of the Undead Murder Farce is getting a little bit of popularity because I think they're finally getting to the mystery of the show, like what the mystery is. So I think that's why it's getting being up in that echelon. The Girl That Forgot Her Glasses, it's been in the top 10 for most of these charts, which is actually really good. Dark Gathering, same way, been in the top 10 for a lot of these charts. Stray Dogs, been in the top 10 for a lot of these charts. Yeah, there's not really anything here that's really surprising outside of maybe the seven Soul Blades dropping 5 spots totally. So there wasn't much movement in that sense. But yeah.
Yeah, but where do you think these places would be with Zone 100?
Ooh, with Zom 100, I think Zom 100 will sit at 2 or 3. And if you really had to push me for it, I would say 2. I would say 2, and then everything drops by a spot from that point.
Not bad.
So I think
that's what I would say.
Tensei goes to 3, Undead Murder Farce goes 4, My Magic goes 5, Gathering goes 6, Stray Dogs goes 7, The Girl Forgot goes 8, and then Spy Class that's at 10, and then the 7 spell blades will be dropped at the top 10 completely. I don't know. Like, I will say we've been going by charts for a long time. These are pretty well done charts. They are fan voted on, so they are with fans in mind. I will say it seems like it has balanced out a lot more. It's not just one straight thing of an answer or answer of what they think. It's more or less people kind of watching multiple things. I'm looking forward to see where we're at. This is only week 8. We still have 4 weeks to go, basically. So we're the back third of the seasons. So we'll see how that pans out in week 9, 10, 11. Kind of getting to see the full chart after that. But overall, like me and Chris said, same old for this chart. I'll be interesting. Also, you mentioned Zom 100, and I'll mention it here, but I'll get into more detail later. JJK will be back officially as of this week, so that's going to really change this chart a lot. So we'll see how that affects this chart, because this chart will not be the same as if once JJK and Zom 100 gets back in the flow of things. So let's get into the second thing I've posted in our group chat. We have this confirmed now. Demon Slayer, The Infinity Castle, is coming out in 2025. When I saw this news, and it's a reputable anime source, it is a source that probably you can find pretty well. I could say pretty reputable, and I corroborated a couple other things. I'm not shocked by it. I kind of figured that would be the case, but also we haven't got an announcement for the training art.
The Hashira training art.
Yeah, we haven't got an announcement for training art, so this is a weird announcement. This coming this early. If this is coming this early, when is Hashira training coming out then? Is that going to be an end of?
Not unless they're just going to include the Hashira training art as one of the 3 movies. And that's if they're even still deciding to do the movies.
Yeah, because movies were a possibility, but that wasn't set in stone either. 1 of 3. I could see it. You doing the Hashira training arc as a movie. The thing is, it's a short arc anyway. It's only like, I think 5. I think technically it's like maybe 15 chapters of the manga. It's really short, and it's like it's probably gonna be like a short thing anyway, 5 episodes, something like that. I would be okay with that. I wouldn't think it'd be too bad if you did a movie. So do a 90-minute movie and just put it out there. But then that means you're getting 3. You're gonna get 3 movies for the end of this anime. It's a little weird. I don't know if I would like the idea of that, and both your final arcs are just movies that can be end up splitting up into episodes. I don't think that's really a great idea, but that's ultimately just me thinking why.
Right.
Overall, I'm not really saying it's a good or bad thing.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to say whether it's good or bad without letting it come out.
Yeah. Like I had just saw this the other day, yesterday, I think, when I was looking through my Facebook timeline and Twitter. Mainly I found this on Twitter because I keep up with all my anime stuff. It's not shocking like you said last time on the podcast or a couple weeks ago. It's basically them making money. They can make a bunch of money putting out this as a movie because they know that people will go see it. It's not like it wouldn't do well. I think it's just with the movies burn people out eventually. Maybe. Is burnout a thing? Absolutely. So we'll see how that goes overall. I will ultimately say this: we take, and I say this with all respect, take this news with a grain of salt. As I've heard through other show I watched, an unhealthy grain of salt, because I don't fully trust this as a source, but some people find things out through the grapevine. Kiming, you can find things out from somebody left their laptop open, somebody left it on a page or something. So this could be legit, but it's not how legit it is.
That makes a lot of sense because, I mean, when you look at the legitimacy of some stuff, I mean, it depends on what pedestals that you're basing those on. For me, those things are usually like, keeping with the story, keeping up with character development, adding twist in there. There are categories or checklists for me that
Mm-hmm,
that
mm-hmm.
start off with things like that. So yeah.
So actually, I was gonna wait to the end, but we already did mention GDK. I'll put it here. So if you look on YouTube today, for some weird reason, don't know why, I looked through my Twitter and there was a YouTube thing from GDK, their Twitter account. They put out the trailer for this next arc. I suggest you go watch that trailer. That trailer was amazing. That trailer was fun. And I like how they made the Shibuya arc dark and creepy. And we're about to get to something that's very interesting. I I will say 3 weeks felt like a month. Th- 3 weeks felt like 3 months. It felt so long, but it wasn't that long. Now we're only 2 days away from starting this arc. That's gonna be 17 episodes. I
Yeah, come on with it. Come
so like you can just look up. I think you just look up JDK season two like like it's a not full like it's like a teaser trailer basically. It's like a good 3 maybe 2 minutes 2.5 minutes. Has the opening. I think it's the opening, not the opening credits, but it has the opening song in it too, so it's worth listening to. Um, but rolling right into our question of the night, this brings up the question me and Chris had kind of already started talking about. So, speaking of anime, have you ever noticed? Me and Chris were watching Soma Spider. So what? And we looked at some other things. A lot of anime is rated kind of weirdly for what they show. So my question to Chris is, why do you think anime is rated so differently to what is shown? Because a lot of these, so like Soma Spider rated TV 14. That's probably about where it is. JDK can be rated TVMA for more mature. Something like Rise of Shield Hero is TV 14. Even though they say they call one character the B word, they do some other things. Zom 100 is rated TV 14 for the most part, outside of a few bloody scenes. And the last episode wasn't as bad. The previous episode was pretty kind of fighty. And then we have things like High School DxD, Testament Sister New Devil. I can go down a list. Um, so, what do you think about that, Chris? Do you think it's because, I think we talked about prior, just on our own, that they're just putting them out there with the ratings that Japan has, or you think or do you think they actually are rating them, but they're doing it based on the American rating system?
I think that these are the ratings that are coming out of Japan. I mean, I believe that's what I said last time too. I mean, and that's only because like the ratings don't make any sense based on the American culture. Like like the American culture is we kind of grew up with a lot of things like blood, violence, gore. These things in our movies is that's a regular PG-13 movie. But in Japan, that some of those things will be considered mature or rated 17. Now, vice versa, where in Japan, where the quote unquote adult age is 13 or 14, or they may have just changed it to 16 recently. But
Mm.
either way, because of what because of the age of adultism is overseas. You look at it, what they consider to be adult is not necessarily what would be considered adult in America. Therefore, you have these mixed match ratings that don't really match who's watching them.
So for clarification, and I'm going to put this out there, I don't look this up because I've looked it up before. So I'll skip to TVPG in America, which is parental guidance suggested. TV 14 in America is parental guidance strongly cautioned. And then TVMA is mature audiences only. Thing is, if you look at some of the anime I just mentioned, like that doesn't line up any with what you would think. And I'll just pull one out for you. Kaizen. Jujutsu Kaisen? TV 14 for action, shonen, supernatural. But if you really look at Kaizen, it's also dealing with a lot of blood, violence, and very strong like fight scenes. I would personally rate that for like TVMA. Not not because of anything like too crazy. I just think it has a little more of a stronger vibe to it. But also at the same time, I can even go down one further. What we're watching right now, Dead Mount Death Play, and I think this one that started a kind of shocking question. Action Fantasy TV 14. Yeah, I'll give it that one because there's not much violence. Very little. There's a good amount of violence, but not a lot. There's a little bit of blood every once in a while, but the story stays with a fantasy concept. It's a shonen. But also, some of these tags don't even make sense because it's action fantasy. Well, this is Ikase, but they're not going to make it just. It doesn't say Ikase on it, but you know it's pretty much an Ikase based on what you're watching. Yeah, it's an interesting balance because ultimately, I think if I remember correctly, for movies, there's a TV 17, and then there's R. I kind of wish the TV had the same thing where it's a TV 17 and then MA, where you balance out the strong, the really like not as strong parents caution should be there too, middle of the road like parents caution, but also strongly don't let your kids watch this, and then MA, which fully jumps the other side of that coin. Do you feel like I'm overstepping there, Chris?
No, not at all. Because I mean, like depending on what your cultural value, are in, this kind of goes back to what we were discussing in our last podcast, and I'm sure Dion was here. But it goes to what you as a parent or a guardian are rating or will allow your child to watch. Like it's not those ratings aren't necessarily to prevent your kid from watching it, but it's so they understand that there are things in there that they may be taken out of context. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So therefore, what you're saying is completely valid.
I will also put this out there. I will say this. I'll go one more step, and it's going to be interesting because me and Chris have been watching the show. Tempura. That's rated TV 14 for comedy and slice of life. But I think with Tempura, there's also a little bit of that like fan servicey aspect, which kind of doesn't. I mean, they don't super do it. They don't like go out overboard with it. It's kind of just there to like give you something else. If you aren't like too sure, that's one where I would think you might need a TV 17 rating, just because of how it is, and this like you could say it's comedy slice of life, but with mild, suggestiveness. So it's like you get it, but you don't. You have the understanding behind it. Um, I don't know. It's an interesting conversation because I think me and you were kind of just taken aback by some of the ratings. We were just looking through stuff, and even some of the genres that they pick for some of the animes, knowing the fact it doesn't.
Well, yeah,
fit.
because I think
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I think the one that really kind of shocked us was World's End Hero.
Yeah, which is like, if I remember correctly, it was like 14, but it also had.
It had full harem themes. Let's keep it that way.
Yeah, so World and Harem is a romantic sci-fi Sene. I don't know how to say it. I think Chris has said it before. Seine.
TN, it means cheer.
Yeah, but it's TV-14. And I remember reading the plot synopsis for this one with Chris, like listening. The plot synopsis it's not one you could take as it's a romance, but it's more of a sci-fi thing, but it's also not. That's not one suitable for children. I'll just put it that way. Based on that, yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting seeing coming down the road later on if how we've talked about delays, we've talked about things changing within the how anime is distributed. I'm wondering if they just have to throw it out there after they do the edits for it, and then they're just going, like you say, going off base. Japan's rating is pretty aligned with the American one. They just use the Japan one. But no, I don't know. It was an interesting question. It was something we both kind of thought about. I kind of gauge myself normally. So like if I like a story, the story's good, keep watching. But if it kind of gets overboard with everything else outside of story, then I'm kind of like, I'll back off for a bit and watch something else. But I'm guessing that's the same way you would be, Chris.
Yeah. That's how I judge my animes when I'm like, if I can make it past the first 2 episodes and stick with it, then okay. But you can quickly lose my attention in the first episode. I have tried to give animes the entire first episode, but if I end the episode or if I hear the outro and I'm looking at my phone, then you obviously did not do a good job of entertaining me.
Now, I will say this, and I will mention my mom's brought this up because we've talked about this before, and she's like, you really can't judge a show by the first episode. I do agree. But at the same time, I think it's also a balancing act of like usually give a show the first 3. By the first 3, and maybe a little bit long, maybe 4, you really know if you like a show. Good example of that is one that people talk about all the time, WandaVision. WandaVision is probably the slowest starting for a TV show in a long time for Disney Plus. But the reason why it was slow, they did a lot of 80s kind of I Love Lucy style things, and the real meat and potatoes of the show didn't happen until season 4. Episode 4, not season 4, episode 4. So once you get through the first 3 episodes, episodes 4 really got you the plot and got you things rolling the right direction. That's hard to do because I think a lot of people would see the first 3 episodes and be like, this is kind of not great. But I think that's word of mouth thing. So you also have the word of mouth for Twitter, where you get your like news stuff from. That would give you that idea of like, hey, that's just what we're going. This is what we're going to go through as well.
Right.
But let me know what y'all think in the comments. Let me know what y'all think about the rating stuff for animes and other things like that, because I think it's a very interesting topic. I think as we get to this fall season, we'll see more of that weird kind of balance between how something's rated to how something is, by fans. Like how things are rated by, rating boards and all that kind of stuff, but how fans take it too. Certain fans might think it's more rough, but certain fans might just like it for the way it is. So each their own. But as we're finishing up, I hope you got Dead Mount Death Play episode 9 up. We're going to do 2 episodes tonight. We're almost at the end of the series. This series has actually been really good for us. It's bridged the gap between this and JJK since JJK ended. Now we're just going to see where this ends up, because this is the last episode was a pretty wild ride. I don't know where this episode is going to go now, because now we have different things happening, and each thing happening now is building to something else. The one thing I will say, it does feel weird. We have all the major players. We don't really know how they all fit together. I think we still need to figure that out. But I will say, yeah, it's weird because where this last episode left off, I think we're going to start work from that point now with the cops. We'll see how that all goes out. But I will say 3, 2, 1, and then we'll get going. Chris, you ready?
We're on episode 9, right?
9. I did say that. I did say 8. I think I
Yeah.
accidentally said 8. 9.
Okay. Yeah. Just making sure. I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Yep, we literally left off where they were stalking.
Yep.
What he's hoping to get out of this?
They're probably trying to see if he can actually, if and what he can actually do, you know?
But that kind of makes a little to no sense because you're trying to. Aren't they still trying to find out why is Lemmings, the family, and everybody else going after each other? So are they hoping that Pokey can tell them what's going on?
Man, they probably can, but I mean, they don't want to. I guess you could say it's like, to me, they're trying to have probable cause. Does
Yeah,
that make sense?
yeah. But the probable cause in this case would be you saw a fire starter burn a house down, almost try to burn a house down. Like that's what
Ooh.
you should be looking at.
Yeah, but I'm agreeing with you, but it's like they're past that. You know what I'm saying? They want to
Yeah,
know what's the cause of it. They're trying to go straight to the root.
kill the root. You kill the roots. You kill the rest. Yeah.
Yep.
He mentioned him right off the bat. I forgot he's skeptical of him still.
All right, I got a feeling he gonna get. Yeah.
Here's the thing: I don't think he'd be stupid enough to do anything from the cops because he has loyalty to the Lord of the House.
Knowing him, he probably kill the cops too.
Yes, he would. And I'm gonna do this for this. I'm gonna keep saying this. I'll say it right here. And Dion would probably be proud of me for this. How is he still using the magic? He said he has very little magic, but yet he's controlling a crystal ball with his magic, and yet he's always like worried.
Yeah, I mean, that is the thing we kept running into.
Oh, they did something kind of cool. I just figured that out.
What?
So the tech dude has the
You actually
eyeball.
read his action.
The tech dude has the eyeball with him, and he's searching through the computer for certain things. At the same time, Pokey is playing off that, also using his stuff, using his way of doing things as well. It's actually really kind of interesting. I like how they did
Oh
that.
yeah.
Signpost. That scared you a little, and what? And you've seen a lot of things. How'd that scare you?
Right. But I can't blame him though, man. Shoot, man. If I saw some stuff like that, I'd jump too.
I would jump a little bit. I would agree. I would agree with you. But as what I'm just saying, as what he's seen in the past like couple days based on this anime,
Oh yeah,
kinda,
they're like, oh yeah.
you think, eh, what do you know? Old partner?
Yes, sir.
Signpost, one way ticket to death. You ain't gonna hurt the kid. Wait,
You don't know.
huh? You didn't believe him. That's
Nope.
that's kind of surprising. Those cops. So that's a sore spot for that blonde-headed cop. He lost his partner,
Mm,
and they made a pact. The signpost.
you know, peeing watching. That's the one thing. How do you know something's looking at you if it doesn't have eyes?
You don't. Most time when they cook food, they don't. They cut out the eyes, or you don't eat the part that has the eyes.
Exactly.
I've never been. I like the look of curry, but I've never been a fan of curry.
There are so many different types of curry. There are some that I did find one that I like. So
I like that. I just am like I can't do a lot of spicy. That's the only reason curry. Like curry, I can do a lot of spicy. If I did.
then you might like a sweet curry.
Yeah, that'd be yeah. Okay, she was following them. They're-
Just because the safe is fireproof don't mean you're fireproof.
You ain't fireproof. Okay, that's creepy. He literally. Okay, how are you not burning right now?
Wow. This dude here.
She. The same symbol we saw earlier.
Thought it looked slightly different. Maybe I didn't see it fast long
A
enough.
little bit different. I think the top part's a little bit different. I will say this. I'll hold that thought. Actually, but
Tried to narrow it all down.
it's funny how he said she's playing dumb, but she's also might be playing smart. She might know, but she's not gonna tell him.
Exact part.
Wait, that's the former detective. Look angry and happy at the same time. Wait, in hiding, so he's not dead. Based on it.
The question is who is he and where is he?
Wait, they were an item.
Hmm. You taking everything out of proportion though.
Who? Or what's been taken out of proportion?
Say it again.
What was taken out of proportion?
The way that spy was in that bar.
Oh yeah, he took that all out of proportion because he says lordship, which
Yeah.
doesn't that doesn't make sense to what they're talking about.
Nope.
I will say this is very heavily talky.
Right.
Prison? What the?
Wow.
So he's basically the guy from Resident Evil 4, the merchant. That's insane.
But I know it's people like that in prison. I've met them.
That's crazy.
There are really certain people in prison that can really get you whatever you want for the right price.
Yeah.
See how his cell door opened up?
Yeah.
Okay. It must be pretty tasty then.
Yeah. Wait. Okay, we're just gonna. What? Okay. We little. Let's finish.
Okay.
Let's finish it out. Wait a minute. Balloons with that symbol are blimps.
Now, what does he know of that symbol?
What? Okay. We're gonna pause for a second.
That's the end of the.
What? Okay. That was a very interesting episode. And we're on episode 9, ladies and gentlemen. They gave us so much information. I don't know where to start, but I'll start with this. We end off where this last episode left us. The two cops were with Pokey. The blonde haired cop wanted his fortune read. So he does the fortune reading. We also find out that the tech dude helps them because they have the eyeball with him and he's looking up this information. We find out in the blonde haired dude's past, he had another partner. The partner's name started with an H. I forget the actual full what they called him. And they made this pact with this symbol. And they're talking about, I think the blonde guy says, I don't really like cigarettes, I'll give them to you. And he says, thanks, I can thank you for treating me. But he mentions about this signpost, this little piece of paper. If anything ever goes wrong, we're both done. So then he's about to just beat up Pokey because he's like, how do you know that? How do you know about that? Then he calms down and they leave. Pokey tells him that I'm the corpse god. Pokey didn't do that himself. Corpse god did. Cop don't believe it, by the way. Cop gets spooked prior in that part where the pen starts writing and jump scared. They leave, they go have some curry, and they have a conversation. I'm gonna stop right there, and then we'll go into the next part. Chris, what do you think about this opening? Because the biggest information from this opening was the former his former partner and what that meant to him. He was with a crack when he heard that name.
Okay, the only way I can go into my explanation is if I go through the entire episode. You mind?
That's fine. Actually, let me do that first. I'll go through it all, and then we'll
Okay,
get
go
back.
ahead.
So then we go from them talking. The black haired cop asked the blonde haired cop, "You're not saying much. Everything okay?" Yeah, I kind of lost my temper. Something doesn't feel right. I'm fine. He doesn't tell his cop friend why he feel what's going on. He kind of just leaves it ambiguous, like pretty ambiguous, but also he just kind of blows it off. Lost my temper. Then we cut back to the trio. The trio was kind of like, that was kind of weird. What was that all about? Don't know. Ask the dude that the lordship's bodyguard to go get food for them. He does. Then we see the lordship's bodyguard on top of roofs, listening to them come out of the curry place. So we followed them. Fast forward, we see Solitaire, or we see this bank vault. We see these guys breaking into this bank vault. We see these guys try to figure I can break into this bank vault, get out and leave. Firestarter comes in. Firestarter does something so creepy to the point where Firestarter starts singing, and just sings this like child's like song, and basically burns this man and everything around him down. Then Solitaire comes in there, grabs a sheet of paper, and leaves. Says nothing else. Then we have a conversation between one of my favorite characters, Carice, and the blonde haired dude. I will say there's a lot of talking in this, but I'll give this scene this credit. This scene was well done and well shot. So it's shot like a interrogation, a back and forth, and then at points they would widen out to the full 180, and you just see the two people Carice standing, he's sitting, and they're keep having the conversation. Based on the conversation, he asked Carice, "How does Pokey know that name? How does Pokey know who he is? How does Pokey know this, that, and the other? Why'd you help Pokey?" He's basically asking all these questions, and she's like, "You're playing dumb with me. Why are you playing dumb?" I'm not playing dumb. I have nothing. I just want to help the kid. I have no interest in doing anything else. If I help the kid, he helps me. I love that from Carice. That was chef's kiss. That was beautiful. And then then he says the name of the former cop. And Carice goes, "I haven't heard that name in a long time." And the cop goes, "Wait, so you haven't heard that name in a long time, but you knew who it was when I said it." Cop changes his tactic. He's like, "Okay, how would the boy know that name? I know that name. You know that name. He was your former, I don't know, concubine, or not concubine, but like boyfriend, whatever, friend, whatever you want to call it. Why would you be protecting Pokey?
Yep.
Why would you be protecting Pokey? And what does Pokey have to do with this? And by the way, if you keep protecting them, I'm going to make sure I get you." He leaves. The people at her bar that she works at go, "Should we be worried?" She's like, no. Don't worry about a thing. You have nothing to worry about. It means nothing. Intercut, funnily enough. So during that conversation, it's just them back and forth, but then they intercut back to the other group, and they say the same name at the same time. I love that because they're like, "Oh, wait a minute, that's the former cop." Crazy, cool, fine. Then after that scene, we get more of them poking and them talking back and forth about things, trying to figure things out. This conversation wasn't really necessary. I think out of all the conversations, this one really wasn't necessary because there wasn't a lot of like meat and tails in this. Outside of the fact, I think they were like, we need to figure out what happened to the cop. I think the girl says it. What happened to the former cop? But then the most fun, outside the conversation between Carice and the blonde hair dude, the last scene we see is Solitaire walking. We don't know what Solitaire. We see a cop. We see just a cop walking in the prison. to this kind of guy that looks like he's been in the prison for a while. He's one of the top prison guards in this place. He's one of the top prisoners in this prison. He knows some things. Solitaire says his long number prisoner. Then he meets the dude. We find out this dude has a generational family who's stolen things after things after things after things. This man is so well known to the point where you want some answers, he's your man. Then we get this conversation between these two people, the guy in the prison and this guy and this in solitaire. The guy in the prison don't really care for solitaire, but you want information, you get to pay up. You have information for me? Give me that. I can look it up for you. But I don't really trust you, solitaire. Your stock for this prison has gone way down. You're not as good as you used to be. Pretty much calling him not a great criminal, which is funny. Then Solitaire's like, you have to give me some information. I brought you something. Give me something. So then guy goes, these lines, they're from Europe. These lines are part of like a European crest thing. They would do that for like crest and shields and things. Basically saying this is some kind of crest, this is some kind of like family shield. And literally as he says that, but he goes, if you want any more, you have to bring some more money, something else. And Solitaire's like, fine, but I'll give you a little bit of discount since you did bring this to me. And ultimately, the ending credit starts playing. I'm like, you're not going to leave us on a cliffhanger. You're not leaving us on a cliffhanger where they're just standing there, stop talking about this little crest thing. No. We get the old, and I'm going to use a wrestling thing here, so I do apologize, Chris. They do the old copyright logo on the bottom of the corner for a wrestling show, and then we have the after credit scene. Or in a movie, we have the credits, and we have an after credit scene. Is the best way to put it. So then we have an after credit scene where the girl in the shark costume wakes up. She's like, good morning. And the tech guy says, it's noon. And the other girl goes, good morning. Later, they're listening to the radio. Something's happened with Solitaire. They know it's Solitaire. And then they literally hear some noise about something outside. We see these blimps with the same symbol that we saw on the paper from the beginning episode, the same symbol that Solitaire gave to the guy in the prison. And Pokey's like, I know. And the Pokey looks at the symbol kind of like, that symbol, that looks familiar. Why? And the girl with the glasses that goes, who's a zombie, goes, do you know the symbol, Pokey? He says, that's the crest of my old Eastern life when I was back in the medieval times. And then the episode ends there. Chris, what do you think about this whole episode? I did need to explain it first, like you said, because there's a lot of factors here. I'll let you explain what you thought, then I'll explain mine.
Well, holy shoot, it's not too much to say after that. But I will say that holy snap. So, this is one of those episodes where it took my brain a minute just to kind of comprehend everything that was going on. And just like you said, they gave us so much. Like, not only did you give us a new piece of information, but you explained it. And once you explained the information, it took us around the entire story just to give us a complete, full view of what's going on, just to use the same clue to throw us off at the very end. Like, bruh. Who created this show?
I don't.
Because, this is one of those shows that, raise your blood pressure. It's only a good show right now to me because you have enough suspense to keep me watching it. Other than that, it's just a regular old... Yeah, go ahead.
It's published by King Record Company Limited. That's the publisher. They don't give us the exact studio, but sometimes you don't get the exact studio. So that's probably the studio as well. Don't know. But this is and I'm gonna go back to you in a second, but this feels like Hell's Paradise type level of storytelling. But at the same time, at least with Hell's Paradise, you gave us a reason to care and a reason for all these things happening. Here, you gave us a reason to care, but then this episode was dialogue, a little bit of like action with the first couple scenes. Like you have the little thing where he grabs Poke's shirt, kind of pulls him in, about to fight him. More dialogue. A tense back and forth between blonde-haired cop and Clarice. Dialogue. Then you had Solitaire and the new guy from the prison. Before that, the only other action scene you had is when Firestarter sings that childlike song and burned everybody in the place. And Solitaire's left standing.
Which is already creepy.
Which is already creepy enough, left standing with that sheet of paper that kicks off the back half of his plot. I mean, Chris, what else do you have to say? Because I can't say anymore. Like, this is crazy to me. But crazy in kind of a way like...
At this point...
Yeah, go ahead.
At this point, man, it's so crazy. Like, okay, I don't really know what to score this episode because...
We'll get to that in a second.
Like, yeah.
What do you feel like? I didn't mean to cut you off.
I'm ready to score, man, because, yeah.
All right. I will say this, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of those rides where I don't know what they're going to do for season 2. We're going to watch episode 10 in a second. What else are you going to throw at us? You throw us another new character. Carice comes back randomly. We also have this one shot. Once the blimps all go in the sky, they do this real cutting shot, which they've done before. You see all the major players now. You see the family. You see Pokey and his gang. You see Carice. You see the cops. You see Lemmings. You see... And the funny part is, the last one they show you is Solitaire smiling. Why would... And you can tell it's Solitaire by one reason, his beard. That's the only way they can tell it was Solitaire. When they close up on the face like that, I'm like, that's Solitaire, because that's his beard. He's smiling and just being kind of like, I did a good thing. I got you now. Okay. And then my other thing with this show...
Solitaire.
Yeah, Solitaire is becoming one of my top 3 characters now because he's in the right place at the right time, and now he's getting the information that I think the cops want, but they can't get. He's getting the information. He's finding out things now that the cops can't find out.
Well, but he's willing to accept the things that cops won't accept either.
Correct. Because it's funny, like Pokey even said, I didn't say those things. The corpse god did. And the cop didn't believe him. Which I'm like, wait a minute. You've seen Lemmings do some crazy things. You've seen a ball of human from the first couple episodes. I'm sorry I did say that again. It was a ball of human. And you saw that. You even say Lemmings, Firestarter, and the other thing in that episode. So you know there's some weird stuff going on. You know of the family that we saw a couple episodes ago. You've seen the fire happen. Like, so either you're just thinking this is crazy or you don't believe anything you're seeing. But before we get to our rating, get up episode 10 of Dead Mount Death Play. Chris, what would you rate this episode of? What would you rate episode 9 of Dead Mount Death Play, and why?
Honestly, granted, this is your show, and I respect your show, but if this was my show, this episode wouldn't get a score.
Oh,
it wouldn't get one.
Explain. I want to hear why. This is interesting.
Because I feel like it's got so many things going for it, but as many things as it has going for it, it has it going against it as well. So I don't want to keep giving a score if I feel like the next episode can make or break my score for this episode.
Fair enough.
Because remember, I've said that for the last 2 or 3 episodes about this show.
You have. And ladies and gentlemen, he isn't wrong. Neither is Dion, because Dion mentioned himself. Dion also thought it was kind of slowly doing the same thing at points, where it was jumping the shark a little bit. And the one Dion mentions right
Yeah.
off the bat, and the one me and him both mentioned, the power level of Pokey. But the other thing, and I have to agree, I can't believe I'm agreeing with Dion on this, but I have to agree with him. The zombie girl, her demeanor has changed so much to the point where she's not as crazy as she was in the beginning of this season. She's actually a lot more calm. She's actually a lot more calculated. She's a lot. After she went to the house, her demeanor changed like that, and now she's
Yep.
more respectful, more proper, but also still has a little bit crazy, not a lot, but it doesn't really. It feels out of place now against everybody else. And then I think Tech Dude was skeptical at first with everything Pookie was doing. Now he goes right along. He goes right along with it, which is also kind of weird.
Yeah.
Then on top of that, we have this new character that's been with them, the Lordship's right-hand person, taking things out of context. Like you said in the events, when he's listening to the whole conversation between the blonde-haired dude and Clarice, he thought it was the Lordship they were talking about. No, they're talking about the cop, the former cop. He's about to do something very crazy and something that's not doesn't make any sense. If I actually can't believe I'm doing this, but I have to agree with you on this. I would have to give this episode an A, no rating. And I feel kind of bad for doing it, but I'm like you. This episode kind of feels odd because you need the context of the next episode. And without that context, a lot of this stuff feels hollow. And the other big thing is like, why is Carice back? Why is Carice back in the story now? What made her come back? If the cop knows about the former cop and she knew about the cop, why didn't you go back to her earlier about that? Why are we learning about the former cop now? By the way,
That part, like,
but also, if we're learning about the former cop now, hold on a second. So you telling me the former cop and the blonde-haired dude made a pact? That pact was on that sheet of paper. He burned that sheet of paper. He basically says, if anything ever happens, we're both done. He says dead, but I'm not literally taking dead as actually dead and like they're gonna die. I think I'm taking that as like we're both done as cops. But then Solitaire gets the same sheet of paper with the similar symbol. And you're like, wait a minute. It's a sign. The title of this episode was Signpost. So you telling me this is something from a previous history thing? Okay. Why are we learning about that just now? Which is fine. I agree with it. But then on top of that, you introduce a whole new character, the guy from prison, which I'm going to say this right now, he ain't back for episode 10, or he will be in a very small capacity and he's done. Because he's no point. This only serves to help Solitaire. And they give him his backstory pretty quickly. So we already know about him already. They gave everything about him.
And you know, the one thing that's grinding my gears about this episode right now, which also makes it one of the most interesting things, is the fact that we don't really have a real antagonist right now.
No, we don't have an antagonist. We have a lot of protagonists. So, like, Pokey, his gang of people, the tech dude, the girl, the lordship person is the protagonist. You can consider Clarice and her people protagonists. You have the family with the lordship and his family. That's protagonist. The only antagonist, if you really want to call him an antagonist, is Solitaire and Firestarter. But here's the problem: Solitaire has no real gain of anything he gets out of this. Like, we don't know why Solitaire is doing this at all, outside of just want to become famous. Like, that's his whole point. And Firestarter, we don't know much about Firestarter because every time they show Firestarter, the first time it was a lady, the second time, 2 times it's been a man, and this episode made it creepy because this guy just starts singing and burns people alive. Okay, like somebody explain to me, how did that work? I'm liking the show. I'll be interested how they introduce you.
I figured it out. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I'm liking the show. I think a season 2 will be interesting. But also, you're just kind of leaving me with a lot of cliffhangers. And that was the one thing with me and Chris talked about with Hell's Paradise. Up to this point, if this was Hell's Paradise, and I hate to do the comparison, we would already have answers to a lot of things, and it would made sense. It would connected back to stuff we saw in the beginning. Nothing up to this point has connected back from the beginning.
Other than the one symbol that looks like it's coming from his world.
His world. It looks like a family crest. Looks like a kingdom crest, or whatever you want. You know what? Like a castle crest, or whatever you want to call it. That's the only thing that makes sense out of this. I hope you have episode 10 up. I hope you have episode 10 up right now. We're about to get into this. And then after, we're going to talk about both these episodes and see if they actually connected to each other. And I'm going to say this right now. I don't think the show is bad. I don't think the show is terrible. I just think there are too many holes in this show to where it doesn't feel satisfying at points. At one point,
I agree. I think it's a very good show. It's just like I'm waiting for it to stop giving me a headache every episode.
But like, in this show, the other thing about the show I don't always fully like, but it's also a stylish choice, so I'm fine with it. So this episode did the same thing that a couple episodes down past we watched did. We stayed in one location for a good 4 to 5 minutes. I didn't time it, but from the time we get to see the guy in the bar to Carice talking, that whole section is probably about 8 minutes. That's including the cut back to Pokey and them, and then cutting back. That's pretty long. A lot of the talking in this is kind of not inconsequential, except for like, if you're really listening, that's probably one of the few times the talking makes sense. If you're listening, the ending sequence with Solitaire and that guy from prison is the main thing you want to get out of this. Everything else is kind of filler. But let's get into episode 10. I will say 3, 2, 1, and then we'll get going. Chris, you ready?
I had to turn my controller back on, buddy. We was getting good in the cover.
No worries.
But I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Wait, from their ancestors?
Wait, okay, have we always had this intro?
No, this is a different intro. It's not even an intro. This is just... What the... All right. What? This show doesn't cease to amaze me. We have answers. They're about to give. We have some questions. Now they're about to give us answers. 5 years ago.
Let me go get my idea. I need to get my idea.
Oh, God. You can see in this opening, we see some of the
this
stuff.
intro.
We can see some of the stuff they talked about, like we're seeing now. The computer, the symbol, the guy in the old timey throne. That whole. By the way, we see the guy in prison briefly. All right.
Briefly.
Wait, they had the blimps. The blimps are in the opening. Okay. All right. I'm gonna just watch this and see how y'all gonna explain it.
Yep.
Jeez.
I'm ready for this.
The emblem. Wait a minute. He didn't burn it.
No, he gave it to a different person.
Oh.
I mean, it's the same person, but he probably redrew it.
Redrew it. Five years ago after he disappeared. Metro Police Headquarters. No whims are cleared to fly here. No That's kind of obvious.
Man, but he's sitting there right on top.
Yeah, that. Trillion yen. He wants circumstances. He wants the information bad enough.
Yep. I like this dude.
I like him too. But also, it's also highway robbery.
Yep. But I mean, he's being a good businessman now. I understand why he's doing that.
Yeah.
Well, think about it. He said it. We measure with the ability that you can do in your lifetime that you can make this much money.
Yep.
Now, so we know we can sell this information to you at this price, right?
Yep.
So therefore, what the fuck?
Oh, come on. The, who are y'all?
Yo.
And you just kill him? Oh, it's a fake.
All
Okay.
right, so basically, so they know they can get that much money from him, now the thing is, they know they can sell it to him simply because they know that they know the fact they know what that piece of information can
It's
do
worth.
for him.
Yeah.
Therefore, that's an excellent business tactic. Excellent. If Walmart could sell you everything you need for everything you got in your wallet, they would.
That's very true.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it turned into a waiter in almost.
Yep.
Wait, she believe how?
There goes a Dion moment.
Yep,
You got
there's that.
enough power to do some dancing skeletons. Yeah. He's definitely one of my favorite characters. I can't
What?
tell you where he rank
Oh,
on it.
yeah. Good.
Uh,
Okay, we're doing this. All right. Uh, 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 one.
and
Oh, come. You get. Oh, my.
yo, I almost want to throw my remote at this TV.
Please don't. I don't want you to break a nice TV. I'll let you explain why this is kind of weird. I think this is also weird.
Very much so. Wow.
Okay. All right.
What? Well, oh,
Okay. What are they doing? What the skeletons in the back in the background? What the? Okay. I'm not gonna do that.
the spirit of that police detective is in that pen.
That's what I was thinking. But that'd be a little far fetched how that happened.
Mm. I feel like I need to go back and watch every episode last scene.
Same, but some episodes didn't have a last scene.
No.
All right, okay. This hold on. This episode, what did I just watch? Because they do it again. And before Chris gives his explanation of what he thinks about the episode, I'm gonna go through it all. I am just gonna go through it real quick. So we start out with, well, we started from where we last left off. Basically, we kind of see the group all together. They're still looking at the blimps. We don't know what's going on. We see Solitaire on one of the blimps, writing it, just kind of thinking, thinking himself what he can do next. Then we see two snipers out of nowhere just shoot him. He's bleeding. But by the way, that's not the real Solitaire. That's just a fake. Okay. Then the girl that's in the group that's wearing the shark outfit, which is the daughter of the lordship, which I forgot about that because it's not really mentioned. She wonders what is Pokey, why is Pokey, and it's the first time she's really cared. Pokey tells the whole truth, and they're like, she's not gonna believe you. She's not gonna believe you. She's not gonna believe. I believe, and she goes, I believe you. But I won't tell anybody else. I won't tell the kid when he gets back from grocery shopping. By the way, we haven't seen that kid since the beginning of last episode. One of the lordship's bodyguards. Then we go from that to more talking, more just kind of like building things up. So then we see Solitaire go on the TV and basically says, or Solitaire is talking to the dude from prison. The dude from prison's like, you want this information? You have to give me 3 trillion yen. It's like 3 trillion yen. That's a lot. Well, in your lifespan, you would make about 6 trillion, so about half that for the information you want. And Solitaire agrees. Then Solitaire goes on his little YouTube channel or something and says, if anybody knows information about this, I will give them 300 million yen. But then he forgets to cut the camera off. And he finally cuts it off, and we go into that next section. After this, then we have this long conversation with everybody, all the main group. So the girl is a zombie, tech dude, Pokey. They kind of talk about what the symbol means. Pokey says the symbol's part of my family. This is where I was when I was younger. And he says this was something that my family, we were back at this throne and everything. I gave up. When I got here, I had to make a reincarnation spell, all that kind of stuff. Then they do the funniest thing ever, which I didn't think they were going to do. They do a full recap of what we've seen in like the first 8 episodes, the first like 5 episodes of the series. Up to a certain point, I think the point was like when he reincarnates back on the real world and gets his throat slit by her, and then they say, you know the rest, and they just move on. Then we get probably the weirdest scene ever. And Chris knows where I'm probably headed. We see the girl that's a zombie and the lordship's daughter, one of his daughters. The girl that's a zombie goes in the shower, and they have this awkward conversation in the shower. I'm like, me and Chris were just both kind of out of it at this point because it was like, what is this show doing? This is jump the shark fully at this point. But ultimately, this conversation was about, I could have done more to you. I could have done more to you and Pokey and everybody, but I didn't. But the lordship daughter goes, you wanted Pokey to acknowledge that he helped you, that he saved you, and yet he didn't, and you feel slighted. But you know what to think now because he's a good dude. He's not bad. The whole time they're talking, she's holding the crowbar, and she's like, "I can kill you right now where you stand." And it's just the weirdest scene. The scene ends. They go back into the other room, or they sit on in like the bench area just talking some more. This girl's all about sharks. The other girl's like, you're bad, but you're not bad. You have a good heart. I'm like, what's going on? Then we go back to everybody in the same room. Tech dude's like, why are you hugging up to her? I like her. She's sweet now. I love, I care for her. Then Tech dude's like, but she always talks about shark, and the shark girls. Hey, she's a good person. Don't do that to her. I'm like, okay, where are we headed? Pokey this whole time was kind of like, what are they talking about? Doesn't really care. Then we get the thing we get after this is so interesting and so odd, but it actually makes sense to the plot. The old lady that's in the police station says, somebody wants to see you. He says, who? And the blonde hair guy says, who? Oh, it's the captain of the Metro Police. The captain of the Metro Police? What? Okay. So then we find out that the Metro Police, he goes to the Metro Police captain. Before we see that, we go back to the main trio, and Pokey's like, I'll figure something out. I got a plan. But Pokey's like, I have to kind of bear my heart. I let the people go that was under my spell because I felt so bad for them. If I can call them anytime, but they won't probably work for me now because I did that. I've done so much wrong to them. And the girl goes, in a sweet moment, she goes, well, maybe you can call them back whenever, and they might forgive you. You think so? And she's like, maybe. You never know. So then we go to the police guy. He's at the main building. He talks to this dude. By the way, at this point, as this talks about the start, credits roll. So like they start talking, credits roll, and we get another ending credit scene again. So credits roll, we got more after the credits. I'm like, Chris, I want to go back and watch some of these episodes, see if there's other credit scenes, but I don't think there were. So then they just talk about, I want you on this case now because you've been the lead for this case. By the way, when you say my name, say it this way. And then he's also like, you want to do this for your partner, right? You can't call him a pebble. He was more than that. And then the cop goes, I didn't say that. I care about him. You just took it the wrong way. But we'll get started on this. So they cut, and we see Solitaire calling somebody who's on a typewriter. He asks about where the building is about the fortune teller, Pokey. He says he goes, he's in Shibuya. She's like, he's in Shibuya. Okay, I'm heading to Shibuya. You can read my fortune. I can figure out what happens next. And then that's where the episode ends. I did a really truncated version of this because there's a lot of like talking that didn't really make much sense. The big things you need to get from this, I'll point these out. The beginning scene with the shark girl. She wants to know what Pokey is. She finds out. The shower scene we see at this has some information in it that makes sense that needs to be told. We get the cop scene at the end, and then we get what Solitaire wants. That's it. Those are 4 things you need to know. Chris, what do you think of this episode?
All right, so you broke the episode down going from beginning to end. So I'm gonna try to break it down by characters.
Okay.
So
that's right.
You look at Poker. He understands that that's a symbol from his own dimension or time, whatever we want to call it, which brings a whole nother level to this anime that's showing like, okay, where is the resemblance between his world and the world he's living in, which is one of the questions that we've been asking this whole anime, right?
Yep.
So now they're finally bringing it into question, which is okay. Y'all are making the decisions, or you placed our main character in the world that doesn't exactly function as his own, but it has a lot of similarities. That kind of goes back into the last podcast we were talking about when we were mentioning about what if he's in like this another time on the same world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if that's true, then in that case it would be just like two other animes that came out in that season. But I will give it the idea of it is a different point of view when you use it for character development.
Okay.
Now, second part, let's look at the girls. The girls. So I was often curious about the girl in the shark costume too. Like she was off. She's a fan of sharks, but yet she is the heir or the daughter to this conglomerate business. So she's not dumb, which was the mistake that I made. Because when you take out the weirdness of the shower scene, it was basically just like she basically read the girl with glasses. She read her through. She knew what she was doing the whole time. She followed her tracks, and then played her own game with her. Like, yeah, I'm just as crazy as you. Flipped it back, and then made the whole girl like realize, like, oh snap. Not only did this girl analyze me, but she knows me as much as I know her.
I'm gonna also point out something.
Further around.
I'm gonna also point out something in that scene, which is also kind of interesting, because the girl with the glasses asks, "You're not scared of me?" And she goes, "Not at all. No, not at all." That tell you how much she's been watching things play out. That tell you she was playing dumb, but she played it so well to the point they thought it was serious. But no, she knows it. She's been watching this whole time. Continue.
Exactly. Like, so it kind of makes her like a character to watch because she's the one who's keeping watch on everything. Excuse me. So, with that being said, the girl in glasses now has a new friend, and it's somebody that understands her and where she's coming from.
Yeah, that's true.
The other girl realized that the Harris realized that her whole character development has been because of she's been looking for redemption. And the only reason she doesn't feel like she got it is because she got it too easy. I don't know about you, but that's a whole Bible story. That's a whole sermon.
Yeah.
We're not gonna get into it, but that's a whole sermon, man.
That's something we can't get into here, and that's not something we're gonna be able to get into in the podcast. So that's a little bit of a deep thing. So, but yes, I get where you're coming from.
So basically, with her understanding her, she pointed out that question and to her and made her realize, like, not only do I have a friend, but I have somebody who genuinely understands me in the truest sense. Okay, so that's those characters.
Okay.
One of my favorite characters is a guy. He realized that he's actually a wizard just on the computer, like Dude, you should have realized that a
I'm gonna say
long
you
time
should
ago.
have realized that a long time ago. That was kind of what I was like.
Okay.
What?
Now let's get into our policemen, our detectives. These detectives are learning that the underground world that they live in is much larger than they expected. So and it started by just like you said, diving deep into his old partner. Once they start asking questions about his old partner, now you're leading to other parts of your own police force, which is already crazy enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now you go into this meeting, who's the head honcho, CEO, so to speak, and you already walking here knowing that this dude is dirty, and and he's in it deep. But at the same time, he puts you into a position to where he already knows that you dirty. He trying to see how dirty you willing to get.
Well, and
But and
and that was the weird thing with that because it felt like two crooked cops. One was more crooked than the other, but yet one was trying to do it by the book, the other's not. At the same time, it also felt weird because I'm like, why did just the blonde haired dude? Where'd the black haired dude come from this? So is he saying the black haired dude's not even a part of this anymore?
nope, he's going deep
Which is
undercover, basically. That's
which is
what I
also
think.
gonna
He's going deep undercover.
which is also kind of funny to me if they're doing that route. Cool, but the thing is, the only he even says you want to find out what happened to your partner, correct? And he's like, well, yeah, he was a pebble in a big pond, and the guy's like, why'd you call him a
But
pebble?
that's what I'm trying to say though. But
Go
that's what
ahead.
I'm getting ready to say. Like he's up here trying to push his buttons.
Yeah.
But while he's pushing his buttons, they're both probing for information. At the same, you see what I'm saying?
Yep.
See,
Yep.
like the dude know that he's gonna, but see, the dude already went in there knowing that he was gonna try to use his partner to switch him up. But the brother came prepared though,
Yes, he did.
and then turned around and flipped it back on him.
Yeah, he literally flipped on his
Flipped it
head.
back on so fast that he went ahead and gave him an assignment. See what I'm saying? And now my dude solitaire. My dude solitaire has been like a fly on the wall on almost every scene. Like I like dude, he's literally a master musician. Like at what point in time can you fake your own death in the news media while it's live, and then turn back on and then be the person broadcasting? Like, bro,
He even went
like
so
this dude
far.
right here.
He even went so far to add fake blood because when he shot they shot the arm, blood popped out, but it wasn't blood. I
Yep.
assume, and it wasn't fake blood. I would go more or less like that. Probably was ketchup or something because that's the easy way to do that with that kind of like probably machinery. He probably put like ketchup packet or something. So when they hit him, they pop and then it spews out. So they think they got a hit, but they didn't get nothing.
Yeah. So, but the fact that he did it though and on live TV,
Yeah, you come back
come on.
minutes later, and say, "Oh, if you have information about this, I'll give you 300 million yen." Wait, we just saw you getting murdered about 5 minutes
Right.
ago.
So,
How are
right.
you?
So he goes to see this new merchant. Like, I'm not even like, even though they give a background check on the character and everything, it's like, okay, I still gotta place you to the side because I ain't seen what you can do, but I am impressed that you are a man of information. That literally makes you the most powerful piece on the board.
Basically,
I,
he's your from I think from even from like I even go from even Hell's Paradise and other things we watched. He's basically your plot device of all the information things that's happened through this season so far, and that's what they made him for. That's the same way with the girl from Hell's Paradise, the one that had all the slime. She was your plot device, or she was part of your plot device. But who was the main plot device? The guy with the glasses, the other samurai, because he knew all the information. And they ended up we had to kill him off. But they're not gonna kill this dude off. He's in prison.
But him. But other than his backstory, though, I'm gonna put a pin in him.
Yeah.
Because like he's still a lot compared to what's going on in this anime, bruh. You are a drop. Like you are a whole drop leading to a whole other pool of new information.
Yeah, he's dropping the bucket.
Gonna touch you. Right. So now, but like I said, Solitaire has been like a fly on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since he escaped prison, then like he is just be getting bits of information however he can.
Yep.
And I mean, shoot, dude is paying for it. Dude is out there actively getting it while putting on a show while he does it too. Like, come on.
Correct.
Man.
Correct.
And then right here at the end of the episode, he learns where he needs to go. I'm gonna end it there.
And you know the funny thing about Solitaire? You said a fly on the wall.
Mm.
I'll put it one step better.
Yeah.
He was biding his time. He was biding his time until he found the right answer. And at the end of the episode, he finds the right answer. He finds out where the fortune teller is. He finds out that he wants to go talk to him. He also finds out if I talk to him, I can figure out what the rest of this puzzle is. Basically, we had three competing things here. We had Pokey and his gang trying to figure out what's he all about, what happened, how this history come back up. We have the cop just trying to get this clean and by any means necessary, and his boss. And then we have Solitaire, who's done everything dirty into a point, like paying for the information, being at the crime scene after it all got blown up. But yet, at the same time, he still bided his time and didn't rush into things. Chris, you did a very good job breaking the characters down. And I think I did a pretty good job breaking down that episode. But I have to ask, my brain is still racking because these two episodes don't have no correlation to each other. The only thing that correlates to each other is from the ending to the beginning of this episode connected. That's it. Nothing else really correlates. But the only thing I will say, and I'm gonna use Devil May Cry as a plot point for this. Ever since we got Solitaire has been your B plot for the show. Solitaire is the B plot in the sense like we see in Devil May Cry. Chris, watch this with me. You have the little goblin dude, the goblin demon, doing stuff in the background to get to the ending. We have Solitaire doing stuff in the background to get to his ending. My prediction is that Solitaire either ends Pokey, either ends the team, or blows this wide open and finds out what all this means. And I think what's going to ultimately happen is that in the process, the cop, his boss, and the other cop are going to get madly burned. So I had to ask you this, Chris, and Chris, I'm going to anyway, because you didn't do it for the last episode. I don't think you're going to do it for this one. What would you rate this episode? Would you rate these two episodes together? Or could you do like you did last episode, there's no rating. I can't give this a rating.
Well, let me do it this way, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
I will give my rating based of all the episodes up to this.
Okay, that's fair.
So from So for Dead Mount Death Play from season 1, episode 1, all the way up to episode 10, I'll give it an 8.6.
Okay, explain.
It's right now. It's just a lot going on. Like there's like I like the complexity. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, it's like, man, so much complexity can leave you off on so many cliffhangers. And honestly, man, it's kind of weird on me.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'll go with the way you did it. We might change this for other animes we watch down the road. From episode 1 of this Dead Mount Death Play to episode 10, I have to give this a 6.
Okay.
And the
Do
only
you
reason
care to explain?
I'm about to, the only reason why, there's two things. One, you gave us a lot of information. Cool. One point before we were watching episode 10, you had to go grab Tylenol. This show makes you think. This show makes you think more than I think I've thought in a while. Not in a bad way. But if you think too hard, you're going to go down a rabbit hole that's wrong. But also, the show also can point you in those directions naturally. Here's the other thing. And like I said before, I hate doing the comparison, but they do it better. Hell's Paradise made you think. But at least we had fun trying to figure it out. At least me and you went back and listened to the English episodes and figured out, oh, this is what this meant. This is what this meant. I honestly...
Yep, and they had the perfect blend of action, too.
Correct. This feels like a murder mystery. Dead Mount Death Play does. So much talking. A lot of it doesn't really have any purpose. Also, some of the scene choices, shower scene aside, because I do say the shower scene is weird, but it served a purpose. So it does have a purpose in the episode. Some of your scene choice and how you do scenes doesn't really fit the tone sometimes. But also, staying in the same place for too long also feels awkward. And then my last thing with this, I don't really know. Once we finish this episode, last 2 episodes, what's the season 2 going to be? Because all these major players, and everybody's like, you have so many major players now to the point where you're bloated with people who are good characters. Like Carice comes back last episode for one conversation, and she does it so well to the point like, so Carice is still a part of this, but no, she's just this episode we don't see her again. You show us a new character from the guy from prison. But I'm like Chris,
and the new police guy.
The new police guy as well. I'm putting a pen in both those people because one, you gave us a backstory for the guy in prison, but outside of that, he doesn't really matter except for plot purposes. He's only there for information. And then the superintendent of the prison, of the police station, has no bearing on the plot till now because he's gonna be a part of what the blonde hair dude does. And I highly suspect we don't see him again after that. I'm liking the show. I enjoyed it. I might have been crazy when I said it like episode 7, this was like a 9. Because it was good storytelling. The plot made sense to a point, and the characters all made sense. Now it's a 6 because I think there's too many characters. The plot is kind of all over the place, and the story makes no sense. The story has making no sense. But we have 2 episodes left of this show, and as of next week, we have as of this Thursday we have Jujutsu Kaisen coming back. So we're gonna do something special for that next week's show. With Kaisen coming back, we have 2 episodes left of Dead Mount Death Play. We're doing no news. We're gonna do no questions. We're gonna watch 10, 11, and 12 of Dead Mount Death Play, and episode 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen. I don't think Chris is going to object to that.
Nope.
I figured he wouldn't, because we want to see how Dead Mount Death Play ends. And I have a weird hunch. I'll make a prediction. Pokey's not going back home. He's staying in the real world, and everybody he's met along the way is going to fall away, and he's going to be by himself again. I hope I'm wrong, because I don't want to see that, because you've made a lot of good characters. But I have a weird hunch his new life is gonna be as Pokey, and he's no longer.
I have a similar prediction though.
And he's no longer be called the Corpse God. Chris, go ahead.
Similar prediction. I think at the end of the episode, I think that somebody, particular is one of my favorite characters. I have a few favorite characters are going to die, and then Poka is going to get captured. Just being alone.
That's another way to see it. Yeah. But I will say, if you want to watch something that's going to make you think, me and Chris Boo do enjoy this show. It is just different. And Dion even mentioned it when we talk about different genres of isekais. This is very talkative isekai. So that's not surprising. But it's talkative in a way where it's kind of a lot. And you have to read through, you have to list, you have to really focus on what they're saying. Because some of it's not going to mean something, some of it's going to mean nothing. So that was episode 19 of the Anmie Dojo. So next week, we're doing a special episode. 11 and 12 of Dead Mount Death Play. Episode 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen. Or episode 6 of Jujutsu Kaisen, season 2. Shibuya arc. I do thank you for watching. I do thank you for listening. I hope you did enjoy. I do thank for Chris for joining me. We'll be back next Tuesday night. Take care. I do, and hope you hear from me next time. See ya.
Later, Gator.